Hey there, thanks for watching my video. What we're seeing right now is two camera views. The smaller one, the inset, is the view of the 3-axis GM3 gimbal, and the larger view is just a camera that I stuck onto a magic arm, and it's hanging off the back of the drone, showing a more clear view of flight. What's going on here is I'm actually flying in air mode, and as you can see in the inset of the gimbal view, there's this bright green line. And what I did was, it's right in the middle of the screen right now, and it's moving a little bit. That's my key, and that's my center. Unfortunately, during this test flight, I was having problems with my head tracker drifting. And it was drifting to the point where I had to stand up and keep turning around a little bit, because that center line would just keep slowly turning off to the left. And so as a result, I'm not really looking around left, right, up and down as much as I would be, because I'm flying air mode and I don't want to risk losing control of the drone, which is really easy to do if your center isn't really clear and you're flying sideways or backwards, and the thing's just drifting all over the place. So the weather was cold. It was about 30 degrees Fahrenheit, -1 Celsius, and at these temperatures, what will happen is that the gyro in your head tracking headset, and I'm using the Walksnail Goggles X. Apparently this also affects the Goggles L, but to a much lesser degree. You will start to experience this drift, and there's really no easy way to solve it other than to either warm it up, which is kind of difficult to do because the control board sits right next to the fan, so constant cool air is being blown in from that point, or to recalibrate your gyro and try to get it to drift less right on the field. I haven't had enough time playing around with this to do that. The last time I had flown this head tracker when it was in a 4-motor configuration, it was right in the peak of summer. Otherwise, I think it flies great. I had to keep turning to my left, so I couldn't really focus on flying, and I didn't really want to push this too much, considering it was only my second flight on this particular airframe. Today was our maiden flight, and for that, the rotation was so much that I ended up just going in gentle circles for 8 minutes. So the motors I'm using are 2306 motors, 2306.5s, 1800 kV, and I'm using the DYS 2 to 8 cell speed control and flight controller. I have since been told that they are not as great as they once were, that I should look into other options, which I will do just for the hell of it if I build another one of these with this kind of configuration. I've been told that DYS is not as great as they were, and there's actually even QC problems on some of their existing hardware. Again, you can see I'm not really peering around with the head tracker as much as I would like, because I'm struggling to keep that green triangle right in the middle of my screen. And you can sort of see it drifting, but it's actually me slowly turning around. So that green triangle is reflective tape, and I know that from your vantage point it's just a little rectangle, but I assure you that the base is wider than the tip, and that it extends about an inch down to the bottom of the canopy, and that's what I use as holding my center. In the previous iteration of this, when it was just 4 motors, I used a piece of antenna boom, but the problem was, even though it wasn't very in the way, because it wasn't in the way, I didn't have an active reminder of what my center line was. So the next clip that's coming up at the 7-minute 36 mark, I'm flying this drone in angle mode, so it's a little bit more of a choppy ride. It's not as fluid and smooth as in air mode, but I'm looking around a whole lot more. Again, the flying here is really not the interesting part. I just wanted to show that the drone actually works, even though it's quite heavy, even though it's carrying this ginormous 4,500 milliamp hour 6S battery pack. It does so with ease, and that scared me actually. So right now I'm actually trying to get sort of centered up, but there's people in the park. I want to keep my distance from them and decide, like, hey, I need to land, but I think there's no clear line yet. And then one of my friends, Alan, I think he's about to start flying, so I'm like, hey, let me make sure I'm not in anybody's way. So I probably ran down the battery just a little bit more. I get about 10 minutes of flight time on this. And for the second video, I apologize that it sort of starts abruptly. I'm not really sure what happened, but it didn't start recording until a couple minutes into the flight. But anyhow, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. And if you stick around, you'll see me looking around a whole lot more in the head tracking setup. And yeah, I didn't want to get too close to people, so I landed a little further out, and ground effect really is noticeable on this drone, and I actually did land on the skids. Alright, so this is the second video clip. I'm in angle mode, and you can see that the flight is a little choppier. I haven't done any PID tuning on this yet. It's using all the beta flight defaults. And yeah, the flying is not really all that great here. I usually don't fly in angle mode, but I am looking around a little more, or hopefully a lot more. And this shows like the use of this better. And unfortunately, this was shot in overcast weather, but you can already see that I'm getting glare. And in the inset, that glare is actually the canopy. The back side of it is actually reflecting into the front. Earlier in the morning when I first flew it, the sun was out, and there was glare, but it wasn't distracting. And if anything, I kind of liked it because it acted as a way to let me easily center my head and have some reference as to where I was inside the cabin. So the timing of this drone is seems to be really funny enough linked with the Insta360 anti-gravity. When I made my first version of this with 4 motors, it was right around the time that it was announced, and I thought, oh, this is awesome, because this is my mechanical poor man's version with the focus on just what I'm looking at and not having a full 360 camera. And at the time, I really welcomed the 360. I thought this is great. Like, the more footage you can give to someone, the more editing and content preservation possibilities that they would have. People could go crazy with it and really make a lot of interesting content. Although the risk was it would be a gag item, sort of a novelty, and 360 would just kind of, fade away. And here we are. I'm flying this on the day that I guess the 360 is officially in the market, and people are buying them up and playing with them and testing them out. And I'm here with my mechanical focused primitive version, but basically trying to accomplish some pretty similar goals. And I'm just going to do this my way and just use this as an opportunity to learn some new things, because the reason I went X8 with this, with the 8 motor config, was to essentially build myself a trainer for handling stuff like cinelifters and potentially larger drone projects. So this was my gateway drug into those bigger and more demanding types of aircraft. I also thought it would just be fun to make the gimbal drone behave in the way that I wanted it to, because I felt like it had some potential, but it really needed another camera on board, and it was already heavy in its gimbal state. So giving it an X8 and more thrust to carry a second camera, or even third, or even lights, just seemed like a good fit and would allow me to take on several things at once without as much risk. But again, I'm here in angle mode. I am looking around a little more, not as much as I thought I would, but at least it's more than when I was in air mode. Angle mode is a little different. I've already kind of forgotten how to use it, and that's why the flight is choppy and not very inspiring. It was also overcast, so that's kind of nice because I didn't have to worry about the sun, but I think the interplay of the sun and all of the glare that was going on inside the canopy would have made things a little more interesting. So next time I fly this, hopefully it's a sunny day. Here I am bringing it for landing. I haven't really figured out landings yet. Ground effect really kicks in hard with these X8s. And I guess I take one more lap and then I land. And I haven't quite figured it out yet. So, feel free to make fun of me in the comments for that. But otherwise, this drone seems really stable. I like where it's at already. I think it's a lot more fun than when it had only 4 motors. And I'm looking forward to just spending more time flying around with this. I might even consider locking the gimbal and disconnecting PTZ, so the head angles are all set in foam, and maybe that's how I'll get through the winter. We'll see. Anyhow, thanks for watching now. Take care.